Hello everyone. Thank you very much for joining our video presentation session presented by Dr. Poon Kai-tak and his research team. This research project is about our investigation in the effect of ostracism on conspiracy beliefs. This is a brief overview of the presentation. In the following slides, we will first talk about the project background and objectives, and how the project objectives are realized. We will also go through the research outcomes, the realization of education plan, and other impacts and acknowledgements. Let us start by introducing the background and objectives of the project. The need to belong is one of the most important human needs because harmonious and sustainable social relationships can promote physical and mental well-being. Ostracism, defined as being rejected or ignored, threatens people's need for belonging. Ostracism is common in everyday lives. For example, we may feel ostracized if our colleagues do not invite us to join their lunch, or if our friends do not like or comment our social media's updates. Researchers have examined the negative impacts of ostracism. For example, they have shown that ostracism threatens fundamental social needs, such as belonging, self-esteem, control, and meaningful existence. Ostracism also increases antisocial behaviors, such as aggression and dishonesty. However, most of the previous studies have focused on how ostracized people feel and behave. Little research has tested how ostracized people perceive social events in the surrounding environment, especially those that are potentially impactful and threatening, such as economic crisis, wars, terrorist attacks, and unexpected deaths of political leaders. How people understand and comprehend these events can often influence the way in which they respond and their corresponding well-being. Therefore, the current project aimed to examine whether ostracism increases conspiracy beliefs, which enable individuals to quickly comprehend these threatening events in the environment. Conspiracy beliefs refers to an explanatory framework that accuses individuals or groups of working secretly to achieve a hidden goal, which is usually perceived as malevolent. Such beliefs exist in various social settings. For example, in medical settings, where some people may perceive that drug companies are exaggerating the effectiveness of their drugs, and in political settings, an example would be people believing in the recent US presidential election as a rigged election. Combining the two variables mentioned above, the current research aims to test the link between ostracism and conspiracy beliefs. As research has been showing that these conspiracy beliefs impair people's psychological well-being, it is crucial to understand when and why people endorse these conspiracy beliefs. Interpersonal factors should be one important cause for believing in conspiracy theories. Yet, the literature lacks sufficient empirical investigation. Hence, the first objective of the current project is to test whether ostracism, a ubiquitous interpersonal experience, increases people's tendency to endorse conspiracy beliefs. So how exactly does ostracism lead to conspiracy beliefs? We proposed that vulnerability plays an important role here. Humans are social animals that depend heavily on others to obtain the resources that enable them to achieve physical and psychological well-being. These resources include food, information, and protection. However, when people are ostracized, they may become vulnerable because they cannot obtain resources that can be readily obtained through harmonious social relationships. We propose that feelings of vulnerability may motivate ostracized people to closely monitor social environments and endorse conspiracy beliefs to quickly understand causes of threatening events and avoid potential dangers. Therefore, the second objective of the current research is to investigate whether feelings of vulnerability would account for the effect of ostracism on conspiracy beliefs. Although ostracized people should generally have higher feelings of vulnerability, it is possible that situational interventions can weaken these feelings. Following ostracism, people often experience threats to their self-esteem and meaningful existence. Since prior studies have shown that affirming important values and attributes can effectively help people cope with setbacks, increased feelings of vulnerability and beliefs in conspiracy theories following ostracism should be reduced if participants are self-affirmed. Therefore, the third objective of the research is to test whether situational interventions can weaken the effects of ostracism on conspiracy beliefs. The primary motive of endorsing conspiracy theories is to quickly comprehend complex events that are potentially impactful and threatening. However, when people perceive the context of the event as irrelevant, their need to comprehend the causes of the event should decrease, and thus they will be less likely to endorse conspiracy beliefs. Therefore, the fourth objective of the research is to examine whether the effects of ostracism on conspiracy beliefs are moderated by the context in which the conspiracy beliefs evolve. Now, we will discuss the realization of the project's objectives. This project aims to test when and why ostracism promotes conspiracy beliefs and to examine how to weaken the effects of ostracism on conspiracy beliefs. All of the project objectives have been successfully achieved. To realize Objective 1 and 2, we developed a new theoretical model that explicates the link between ostracism and conspiracy beliefs. We also empirically tested whether ostracism increases people's tendency to endorse conspiracy beliefs through increased feelings of vulnerability. We conducted a series of cross-sectional and experimental studies. The results showed that ostracized participants reported higher levels of vulnerability and were more inclined to endorse conspiracy theories in various real-life and hypothetical situations than non-ostracized participants. We also tested an alternative explanation and ruled out the possibility that changes in negative mood following ostracism can account for the link between ostracism and conspiracy beliefs. We also found that vulnerability still significantly mediated the effects of ostracism on conspiracy beliefs after controlling for the influence of negative mood. To realize Objective 3 and 4, we subsequently found that a brief self-affirmation exercise, which is about offering participants a chance to reaffirm their important values, can reduce ostracized people's tendency to endorse conspiracy theories. Lastly, we also examined whether the context in which the conspiracy theories evolve moderates the effects of ostracism on conspiracy beliefs. We found that the negative impact of ostracism can be reduced if people perceive that the context of the conspiracy theories is irrelevant to them. We will now talk about the research outcomes. In this project, we systematically investigated the psychological mechanism underlying the effects of ostracism on conspiracy beliefs and examined how to weaken ostracized people's tendency to endorse conspiracy beliefs. Adopting a multi-method approach, the current studies provided converging evidence showing ostracism increases conspiracy beliefs through increased vulnerability, and that self-affirmation exercise effectively weakened the effects of ostracism on conspiracy beliefs. We also found that the negative impacts of ostracism can be weakened by various contextual factors and situational interventions. These findings have been published in top-tier peer-reviewed international journals in psychology, such as Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin. We also presented these findings in various international conferences, including the Annual Convention of Association for Psychological Science and the International Convention of Psychological Science. Our studies provided converging evidence showing that feelings of vulnerability can account for the effects of ostracism on conspiracy beliefs. Future research may test other psychological processes that may help to understand the link between ostracism and conspiracy beliefs. Moreover, the present research unfolded a brief self-affirmation exercise that can weaken the effects of ostracism on conspiracy beliefs. Future studies may consider the application of self-affirmation in reducing other negative impacts of ostracism and helping people effectively cope with ostracism and other related forms of interpersonal maltreatment. Finally, the current research emphasized on the effects of ostracism on conspiracy beliefs. It would be fruitful if future research examines how post-ostracism increase in conspiracy beliefs carries further implications in people's psychosocial functioning and subjective well-being. We will now move on to the realization of the education plan. Throughout the course of this project, 17 students participated in the research project. They were notified about the details and rationales of the present research at the beginning of the project. Some relevant readings were given to them to help them understand the project background and recent relevant research findings. The students were also provided with training sessions to learn some basic research skills, such as how to conduct literature review and how to design correlational and experimental psychological studies. Our students also engaged in data collection and other research-related activities. For instance, they assisted in the preparation of experimental materials, such as translating English questionnaires into Chinese, and took up the role of experimenter under supervision of our research staff. We also held regular meetings with the students to discuss the progress and any difficulties they might have come across when participating in the project. During the meeting, the student helpers were provided with the opportunity to give suggestions and express their thoughts with respect to the project. These research-related activities sparked students' interest in conducting independent research projects and writing research reports. After completing the research internship, 2 students further worked on an undergraduate thesis with Dr. Poon, and 1 student helper worked on a master dissertation under his supervision. There is also another student helper currently undertaking the PhD program under Dr. Poon's supervision after the graduation of her bachelor study. Students' participation in our research activities is beneficial and rewarding for them because it has helped them develop different skills, including but not limited to research-related social, communication, problem-solving, writing, and critical thinking skills. This is certainly a valuable experience for students to learn outside the classroom and acquire knowledge beyond the textbooks. The students have especially gained more knowledge on and become more mindful of the psychological concepts of ostracism and conspiracy theories, as well as their significant impacts on humans' psychosocial well-being. Students also have opportunities to exercise their systematic writing skills and publish papers in top peer-reviewed international journals. We have published 4 journal papers related to this project with our students and research staff. Here comes to the final part of the presentation, the other impacts and acknowledgement for the project. The project enhances our collaboration with different researchers. In particular, we have formed long-term research collaborations with researchers at the University of Hong Kong and the South China Normal University. Our project also trains students and research staff in terms of research and other skills. During the project period, Dr. Poon was also honored to have received the Education University of Hong Kong's President's Award for Outstanding Performance in Research and the Association for Psychological Science Rising Star Award. Finally, Dr. Poon would like to show his deepest gratitude to all collaborators, research staff, and students, as well as the Research Grants Council for their constant support. The project would not have been possible without their contributions. This is the end of the presentation, and we thank you for listening. Please feel free to contact Dr. Poon and his research team if you have any further inquiries. Thank you, and we hope to see you again.